Hey Gunslingers, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's your Commander and Chief Listening Officer here, Sean Kern. Here to talk to you today about two things. First, I'd like to share with you, if you don't already know, that the day after I took command, we held what we called a Gunslinger Roundup, where we had over 90 of our leaders throughout the wing, including senior wing staff, in a room for about 3 hours, where we spent some time to express a little about who I am, where I'm from, how I think. I listened and learned about where other people are from and how they thought, and we spent some time sharing our priorities, opportunities, and challenges. Well, I hired a strategic illustrator to kind of illustrate the event, and the result were 4 sketch notes that kind of graphically depict kind of key themes, messages, talking points that occurred throughout those 3 hours. Here's one example of a sketch note. There are 3 others that will be at the end of this video that you can see, but we'll also be connecting this to my commander's intent, which is the second point I want to talk about today. Now, what's a commander's intent? Commander's intent is basically guidelines for you to refer to as you are empowered and delegated to do the work of the wing. As long as you're within these guidelines, you know you're fine. But if you find yourself bumping up against it or getting outside of it, talk to your supervisor, talk to your commander, get in a line, or maybe challenge my intent. Bring something to me. Tell me it's incomplete or not correct. I'm all ears. Okay, so let's dive into this commander's intent. The very first point I want to make is high connection and high trust. And this was actually the theme of the Gunslinger Roundup you'll see in those sketch notes. So what is high connection and high trust? First, it starts with a humble leader. A level of humility where you're willing to listen, learn, and then lead. But it's hard to listen to a silent room. So it's important for that leader to create psychological safety. Psychological safety is when an airman's prepared to risk looking incompetent, ignorant, or disruptive in order to advance the team. In other words, they put the team ahead of themselves and they share their thoughts and ideas. Psychological safety is absolutely critical to getting it right. And what do I mean by that? It's better to get it right than to be right. So if you're focused on being the person in the room, being right, refer back to humility. And let's advance our team and our wing. Number 2, the wing serves the groups and the groups serve the squadrons. This is about who you serve and why you serve. Because without you, there'd be no reason to have the group, no reason to have the wing. But you need to look at high connection and high trust again, because we need to be able to listen to you and we need to hear your voice. One of the practical ways we're doing this, and this came up in my last commander's call, was is there an org box or somewhere that you can give your ideas? And at the time I said we're working on it, but in the meantime, the org box is my email address and I stand by that. But our A6 has been looking at different forms of crowdsourcing platforms. We've landed on one and we're working through the process of integrating it, and we'll be providing you more information as it comes out. But the idea is that you can provide opportunities, you can provide challenges, other gunslingers can comment, we can vote things up, and then every once in a while, based on predetermined business rules or practices, we will select the opportunities and challenges to work towards. I will prioritize manpower, I will prioritize money, and we will get after the things that are most important to you. I promise you that. Third, we need to drive a virtuous cycle. So what's a virtuous cycle? You've probably heard of a vicious cycle, and the most real example of a vicious cycle is the arms race during the Cold War. They built more nukes, we built more nukes. They built more nukes, we built more nukes. And you created this negative feedback loop that no one wanted. Well, in a virtuous cycle, it's a positive feedback loop that everybody wants. And we're uniquely postured in this wing because we have everything from the developers to the testers to the rangers to the operational teams. We have the entire prepare, employ, assess pipeline. So if we do assessment right and identify those things we could push back into employment to improve operations directly, or identify gaps in organized training and equip activities that we could push over to prepare, then our force will be better. And then we run through prepare, employ, assess again. And then we learn more. And then we're better. And then we learn more and we're better. And we create a positive feedback loop we call the virtuous cycle of organized train, equip, and operations in this wing. So I'm super excited for this focus. It's going to increase our learning velocity in the wing, and we'll relentlessly optimize and automate the things that enable that virtuous cycle. Number 4, laser focus. One of the biggest challenges in any large organization like this wing is lack of focus. Strategy, I can write one all day, every day, but it's an execution that most organizations fail. And we have to be good at both if we want to serve our nation in the way we were asked to. So we're going to focus on execution. And one of the ways we're going to do that is the top priorities of the wing. So I called it the top 20% before. We gave it a name, the Commander's Action Task List. But really, it's the things that matter most to accelerate this wing in readiness, in operations, you name it. Well, originally it had 11 items on that cattle as of last week. And I thought, that's not laser focused enough. We need fewer. It doesn't mean that they're not all important, but some are more important than others. And if you want to be successful, you have to have laser focus. And for us, that falls on 3 criteria today: the readiness of the force, CMF growth in FY23, and the establishment of that A9 Assessments Directorate so that we can be that high-performing, continuous learning, continuous improving organization I just spoke of. So those are our 3 priorities. And we're going to run on the ground, we're going to execute them flawlessly, and we're going to deliver results for you and our missions. So if I would wrap all this up, I would say high connection and high trust are about the behaviors that I expect to see in this wing. The wing serving the groups and the groups serving the squadrons are about applying those behaviors to the people you serve. Developing that virtuous cycle is our responsibility to be continuous learners, continuous improvers, so that we can improve operations and employment, and so that we can improve organization, train, and equip activities in prepare. And we're applying that laser focus to become a highly effective organization, because I know we have the capability and capacity to be highly effective and high performing. And I'll end with this. We need you to be bold, we need you to be audacious, and we need you to be disruptive if we want to achieve this vision. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you for spending some time with me, and gunslingers, light 'em up.